The fire is hungry. It reaches for the sky. It is a bright orange flower. It blooms in the cold morning air. In the center of the fire is a girl. Her name is Joan. The crowd watches. They are silent. It rises into the sky like a dark prayer. This moment is frozen. A girl. A fire. A warning. Before the fire, there was a field. Before the armor, there was a simple dress made of rough wool. Before she was a soldier, she was a peasant girl. Her name was Jeanne d'Arc. We call her Joan. She lived in Domremy, a forgotten place in a broken kingdom. France was losing a long war. The English were winning. The French king was weak. The people were afraid. Joan's world was small. The farm, the church, the forest. She could not read. She could not write her own name. She was, in the eyes of the world, nobody. Her days were simple and repetitive. She helped her father in the fields. She spun wool with her mother. Her hands were rough from work. She was devout. She loved the stories of the saints. Her faith was pure. She saw the world in black and white. For her, God was real. The saints were her friends. The King of France was God's chosen leader. The English were a darkness to drive out. She had no title. She had no land. Her family had no influence. Power belonged to men, to nobles, to bishops. She was supposed to marry, have children, and die forgotten. But Joan was different. She did not see the walls meant to hold her. War was a distant storm until it consumed her home. The voices came to her when she was 13. A bright light, a voice, gentle but firm. Be good, go to church. She said they were Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, Saint Margaret, messengers from God. They told her, save France, go to the Dauphin, break the siege of Orléans, crown him at Reims. Her family feared she was sick. The priest was suspicious. It was a dangerous claim. But her fear of disobeying God was greater than fear of any man. She cut her hair. She wore men's clothes. It was practical. It was also a symbol. At the Dauphin's court, advisors called her a witch, a madwoman. They hid Charles among courtiers and placed another on the throne. She walked through the crowd and knelt to the true Dauphin.
God give you life, noble Dauphin, she said. I am Joan the maid. The King of Heaven has sent me to you.
Silence fell. In private, she told him a secret only he and God could know. Theologians examined her for weeks. They found no evil. Reluctantly, he agreed. He would give her a chance. Joan was given a suit of white armor and a white banner with the names Jesus and Mary. She was not a strategist. She was the heart and soul of the army. They saw her as a miracle. Orléans had been under siege for months. The English were confident. Joan rode at the front. Her banner flew high. She did not fight with a sword. She carried a sign to rally courage. The French attacked with a ferocity unseen in years. Joan was always at the front. An arrow hit her shoulder. The soldiers panicked until she pulled it out, was bandaged, and returned to the fight. Her courage became theirs. In days, the impossible happened. The siege of Orléans was broken. The English retreated. For the first time in a generation, France believed it could win. Advisors urged caution and delay. Joan understood momentum. City after city opened its gates. Her presence alone made garrisons melt away. At Reims, on July 17, 1429, Charles was crowned King Charles VII. Joan stood beside him, banner in hand, the mission fulfilled. And in placing a king on his throne, she made powerful enemies. She was more popular than the king. That frightened men in power. In the world of power, nothing is more dangerous than making the powerful feel irrelevant. The end came in the spring of 1430. Outside Compiègne, Joan was captured. Burgundian allies of England pulled her from her horse. The drawbridge rose behind her. Charles, whom she crowned, made no attempt to save her. No ransom was offered. The Burgundians sold her to the English. A transaction. They did not want a martyr. They wanted to unmake a saint. In Rouen, a pro-English court convened under Bishop Pierre Cochon. He selected the judges. The outcome was designed. Against church law, she was held by soldiers, chained, taunted, threatened. Day after day, she faced the most educated minds in the country, alone. It was not a search for truth. It was a cage. They tried to trap her with clever questions about her visions.
If I am not in God's grace, may God put me there, and if I am, may God so keep me.
They focused on two charges, heresy and cross-dressing.
My voices are my authority. To them, this was unforgivable.
Men's clothes protected her from assault and marked her mission. The court called it rebellion. Shown the instruments and the pyre, she faltered. Fearing the fire, she signed an abjuration. Days later, in men's clothes again, by theft or defiance, the excuse they needed. The execution was a public spectacle, a demonstration of power. The church and the state worked together to kill a teenage girl and force the public to watch. As the flames rose, Joan cried out the name of Jesus. Joan. Jesus. Her faith did not waver in this final horror. The crowd wept. Even the executioner feared for his soul. They raked back the fire to show her body, then burned it again and a third time, until nothing remained but ash. Her remains were thrown into the Seine. This moment was meant to erase her, to turn a hero into a warning, to burn her from history. But fire does not always destroy. Sometimes it purifies. Sometimes it forges something new. This fire was a period at the end of a sentence, not the end of the story. And it began not in fire, but in a quiet field, far from any crown or flame. Yes. Who gained from her death? In the short term, everyone in power. The English destroyed a symbol. The church reasserted its control over revelation. Even Charles' court was relieved. Politics returned to normal, men back in their rightful place. The church, the sole path to God. A brutal, successful act of social control. But you cannot burn a story. You cannot drown an idea. 20 years later, Charles ordered a new trial. Pierre Cochon was condemned. Joan was declared innocent, a martyr. Centuries later, the same church that burned her declared her a saint. The irony is staggering. France sees a national hero. Feminists see shattered structures. The faithful see pure belief. Her story is a mirror. We see in it what we want to see. She didn't just fight wars. She disrupted male authority. If God could choose her, what did that say about them? The charges weren't about faith. They were about obedience. This is what happens when women lead men. Secular and religious powers aligned to break a girl whose power came from belief and the people. Her fire went out long ago, but her story burns on. The girl who terrified thrones is a question we cannot stop asking. What would we do today to a girl who terrified thrones?